All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. Now, the Las Vegas Raiders came into this season with high expectations and for good reason. The Raiders made the playoffs last season, and they were looking to build off of that. This past off season, we saw the Raiders trade with the Green Bay Packers to acquire wide receiver Devontae Adams. They also picked up the pass rusher Chandler Jones. And you thought this team was ready to make a Super Bowl push, but leave it to head coach Josh McDaniels to ruin that. Now, after last year's controversy around the Raiders, this team rallied around interim head coach Rich Bisaccia, who led this team to the postseason. But instead of Raiders owner Mark Davis making Bisaccia the full-time head coach of the Silver and Black, he called an audible and wanted to make a splash, which led to the Raiders bringing in former New England Patriots offensive coordinator Josh McDaniels to be the new head coach in Vegas. And all that McDaniels has done is to ruin what the Raiders had in place. But honestly, we've seen this picture before. Now, in less than 2 years as the head coach of the Denver Broncos, McDaniels made that team a laughing stock. And remember, in 2010, McDaniels was the guy who traded back into the first round to select Tim Tebow and expect him to be the starting quarterback. And of course, that really never came to fruition on McDaniel's watch because he was fired with 3 games left in that season. And of course, John Fox took over the following year. Excuse me. And then let's not also forget a couple of years ago, the Indianapolis Colts had hired Josh McDaniels to be their new head coach. And what did he do? He literally left them at the altar. Introductory press conference, coaching staff was put in place, and then at the last second, he decided to return to the New England Patriots. And I thought after that move right there, that McDaniels would never get another opportunity in the NFL again. But lo and behold, he did, and look at what he's done. The Raiders are now 2-7 after being a playoff team last year, after having the expectations that were put on this team this season. Included in those 7 losses, the Raiders have had a 17-point lead in 3 games, and they found a way to lose each of those games. You go back to week number 2 at home against Arizona. They lost that game in overtime. Week number 5 on Monday night in Kansas City, they were up 17 to nothing. And then last Sunday in Jacksonville, and they lost that contest as well. But in all fairness, today for me was the icing on the cake for McDaniels with the Raiders because his Raiders lost to an Indianapolis Colts team with an interim head coach. First game for Jeff Saturday as the interim head coach of the Colts. And you're talking about a guy, darn good player during his time in the NFL with the Colts and the Packers as a center. Didn't have any experience previously and any facet of the game coaching, whether it was a position coach, what coordinator, whatever, in the National Football League. This guy comes in and the Raiders lose at home to this team. So now when it's all said and done, McDaniel's time with the Broncos and now his time with the Raiders, you're talking about a guy who is now 13-24 as an NFL head coach. And I was very critical of this hire when Mark Davis made it. And at the end of the day, Josh McDaniels has gone out there and just really destroyed something that was good. I expected, Derek Carr to be in top-notch form with Devontae Adams, 2 college teammates reuniting in the desert. That hasn't been the case. And it seems like the Raiders, every single week, they can't get out of their own way as they simply go out there and find ways to lose games. And Derek Carr, he's been a mild-mannered guy throughout his NFL career. The frustration is there. And I'm sure the frustration is not just there for him, but the other 52 guys on that Raiders roster. And I'll say one thing about Josh McDaniels. Anybody, and I mean anybody, can look like a genius when they're the offensive coordinator and Tom Brady's the quarterback. Because I mean, you think about it, what can Josh McDaniels really do that's going to make Tom Brady a better quarterback? This game is going to remember Tom Brady long before they remember Josh McDaniels. And at the end of the day, Josh McDaniels' greatest claim to fame is, being the offensive coordinator during Tom Brady's prime with the Patriots. And I mean, you think about Josh McDaniels' first indoctrination as the OC for New England from 2006 to 2008 before he got the Denver job. And during that time, I mean, you think back to the 2007 Patriots. Anybody can look like a genius when Tom Brady's throwing the football to Randy Moss and Wes Welker. You just had to sit back and reap the benefits of what those guys did on the field. And for whatever reason, Josh McDaniels continues to get jobs in the NFL. Why? I don't know. And on top of that, I don't understand why front offices around the NFL continue to hire Bill Belichick assistants from the Patriots. It just doesn't work out. These guys come in, say I'm wrong on certain points, but the bottom line is they try to do what Belichick does in New England. It works for Belichick. It doesn't work for these guys. This is the second time around. It hasn't worked for Josh McDaniels. You think about Matt Patricia, and I could just keep going right down the list of guys where it simply has not worked out. So, will Mark Davis seek a mulligan on this and move on from Josh McDaniels after 1 year? I'm not really sure because you think about the money that is involved in hiring a head coach, and now you have to fire him and pay him while going out there and getting another head coach. I'm not sure what's going to happen here, but the bottom line is the Raiders, just when you thought this team was ready to turn the corner and make that push, they've once again become an albatross. I mean, you're 2-7, and basically at this point, you're talking about the Raiders primarily need to run the table to go out there and have a chance at the postseason this year. I mean, they're at Denver next Sunday. Two teams that came into this year with very high expectations, and neither one of them is living up to it. At Seattle, that's going to be a tough game right there. You host the Chargers, and then you're at the Rams, another underachieving team. But when it's all said and done, I just don't see the cohesiveness needed for a team to succeed from these current Raiders. And at the end of the day, it starts and ends with the top of your organization. And at this point, it starts and ends with Josh McDaniels. But then also, plenty of blame has to go to Mark Davis because he was the man who hired Josh McDaniels in the first place. Things have never come together for the Raiders here in 2022. The expectations were high. They failed to live up to them. And the bottom line is Josh McDaniels definitely deserves the lion's share of the blame. So, folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank you for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. I want to take this time out to thank all of you fine folks out there for tuning in. And if you have not already, please feel free to subscribe to this channel. Now, if you're on Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it'll be my pleasure to follow you right back. There's also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365. You can check it out, drop a line, and be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. So, once again, fine folks, my name is William Martin. I'm signing off, saying take care and have yourselves a wonderful day.